6 steps to better flute tone.
Are you ready to transform your flute tone today? Well, I've got something really special to share with you. Something that in fact I actually usually only share in my paid workshops. But because I believe that flute tone is so important and I really want to help as many of you discover your awesome sound, I'm giving you a bit of a peek behind the curtains today and sharing my 6-step process to help you get a better sound. Hi everyone, my name is Tatiana. This is the Flute Practice, a space to help you on your flute learning journey. Ready to get stuck into it? Let's go. One of my favorite things to teach is tone. I love working with students on tone. And over the years, I discovered that there was a really specific, almost instinctive process that I was following without even realizing it. And then I started to actually quantify this process and break it down and actually work with students through this process. And it has become my kind of troubleshooting process that I not only use with students, but also give to students to help them identify their own problems. As we're working through this process, though, I want you just to remember a couple of really important things. First of all, you don't need to be tackling every single one of these points in one go. In fact, I recommend you probably only tackle one at a time. And because it's so important to do this in the order that I give you, you're probably going to start with point number 1 and then slowly work your way through. Which means you're going to want to save this video or like this video at the very least. Maybe add this to a little private playlist or something so that you can come back to this video again and again as you work your way through this process. I do just want to say though, at the end of this video, we have a little extra surprise for you guys to help you in this even more, so stick around for that. All right, are you ready? Step 1 of this process is a step that I can almost feel eyes rolling already, but it is to focus or spend some time becoming aware of what you are doing with your body. I cannot tell you how often students fall down just because they are not actually standing well, they're not holding their flute well, they're doing all kinds of weird contorted things that is affecting their tone. Very often, students get stuck here at point 1. Not stuck forever, but I mean we stop here and we kind of decide to just work here because it is so important and because it is one of the biggest mistakes I tend to see students make, if I have to be perfectly honest. Okay, so no rolling eyes. Let's just get stuck into what that looks like. Balanced body. Well, first of all, I just want to say there is a playlist down below with a whole bunch of videos to help you through this process as well. One of the videos in there is all about body balance and finding a sense of balance and ease in the body. But a couple of important notes here. First of all, we want to make sure that your feet are securely planted on the ground, that you're not kind of standing on one leg or maybe leaning too far forward or too back. We want to make sure that your knees are not locked. Really crucial. Unlock those knees. Really important. We want to make sure that your hips and your shoulders and your knees are all in alignment. So we're not twisting shoulders kind of to the side like that. So we're all nicely lined up. And we want to make sure that we're not craning that head forward as we play. So we want a lovely sense of balance in that body. We then are just going to pivot that head over gently. And let me just grab my flute here quickly. We then have this kind of 30 to 45 degree angle from the shoulders to the flute. I cannot tell you how unbelievably important this is. So if you are not doing this or you are not sure, I encourage you to just play with that angle, find a sense of balance in the body, and just make sure that you are really, first and foremost, focusing on this instrument, you. That's right. I've never seen a flute play itself. I don't know about you. Go check out the video down below for more on that. Once you feel like you've got a fairly good position, it doesn't have to be perfect, by the way. You know, if you can make like a 5% improvement in this area, that would be great. But once you've got a more or less good position, we can actually then go on to step number 2, which is breathing. We look at breathing. And here's the thing, we play a wind instrument. It is all about the breath. But we have to ask ourselves the question, what creates the breath, right? And the answer is you do, your body, your moving body does. So what we do with our body is going to impact the breath and the breathing. And a really quick, simple kind of exercise here is if you just twist your shoulders over your hips, so your shoulders and hips are no longer lined up. You can see this, so we're twisting. And now try breathe in. Okay, now bring them back in alignment over each other and now breathe in. Hopefully most of you feel how unbelievably wonderful and so much better that feels than what you did previously. So it is really crucial to do step 1 first and then step 2. Now, having a good grasp of what breathing is all about on the flute, understanding all of that is so huge. And once again, we've got a video down below to help you through this. But the really crucial thing here is that we're not breathing shoulders up, tummy sucked in and kind of tense like this. We're rather breathing, expanding, opening, letting that lovely fat belly flop out. We love those bellies here. So let that belly flop nicely, feeling expansion, feeling the back even opening up. That you kind of imagine yourself filling up like a beautiful big balloon or something. Really, really, really important. If you feel like you struggle with breathing, or you don't know what I'm speaking about when I say that your belly needs to go out, or that you need to expand and open up, and maybe just, anyway, go and watch the video on breathing. Really, really important. And then step number 3. Now you'll notice we're not going straight for the embouchure here, which is the temptation, right? We speak about tone and we go, embouchure, what are we doing? We're actually kind of going from the bigger view and we're moving in. And the next step here is actually to look at what's going on in your jaw and in your throat, and connected to that a little bit your tongue as well. And a huge mistake I see students make is that they are completely locked here in the jaw and as a result very tight in the throat. We do have a whole video on throat tension and how to release throat tension, but there's one really good tip I want to just share with you here, which a lot of my students have found hugely helpful. And that is, as you're playing, to just think about releasing the muscles here, releasing the muscles. So just think about soft cheeks. So think about softening this and this part of your face and just releasing nicely. Okay. Now, you also might want to do things like a bit of singing and playing, and you might want to do things of just kind of thinking of more awe feeling in the throat. All great to help unleash that throat or loosen up. That's a really important area to look at next. And actually also connected to breathing, because very often when we are breathing like this, here everything just locks up and gets tight already. So again, fix the breathing first, fix the body before that, then the jaw will often follow on its own, but then we can think about releasing in the cheeks. Good. Point number 4. We're now moving a little bit more specifically into the embouchure area. So what we're going to look at now is there excessive tension in the embouchure? Now, I always say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't go hunting for tension. You will know if there's tension if your cheeks get very tired, if you watch yourself playing and you sort of see this kind of smiling embouchure, or if, heaven forbid, one of your teachers said to you, you have to smile to play the flute. I want to come find that teacher. No, I'm joking. Old school ways of teaching or just bad ways of teaching, we forgive those teachers. But seriously, you do not smile and play the flute. If you were taught that, this is just bad news. So we want to make sure that the embouchure is actually most of all really flexible. We need a supple embouchure. We need an embouchure that's going to be able to move. That is really crucial. I've got a whole video on the 2 really important things in flute playing. One, flute tone, which is all about angle of air and speed of air. The speed of air, that comes from the breathing and the breath, right? We've spoken about that. But the angle of the air, changing how high or low that air is going to hit your flute, is all about the embouchure. And it can only do that if it is able to move. So if you're finding that your embouchure is stuck and tight and unable to move, then this point number 4 is an important one for you to start focusing on. Again, make sure you fix the other 3 points first. I'm going to say that a million times. I'm sorry if I'm annoying, but it's that important. Okay, point number 5, once we've got there. Now we can start looking at position of flute on the lip. And yes, I put this at point number 5. Can you believe it? Because while ideally everybody started the flute and we put the flute in the correct position, I find that sometimes we focus on that so much and we miss the other really big issues that are actually causing the problem. We want to make sure that the flute is really sitting so that the opening of the lips is lining up with the tone hole. Really important. Now, for some of you, that might be to the one or the other side. That's totally fine. Is the opening of your lips, wherever you are forming that opening, actually lining up with your tone hole? We also want to make sure that the flute is not rolling too much in or out, but usually in. Like I could probably record myself saying roll out, roll out, roll out, because I've said this to so many students so frequently. If you're rolled in too much, we get this kind of fishbowl sound or a no-show sound, even just a little bit of it. And very often we get this really kind of flat, dull sound in the second register. Not good long term. It makes playing in the second register easy, which is why many students do it, but don't do it. So we want to make sure that the lip is covering only about a third or a quarter to a third of that tone hole. And the lip, it's the lower lip that covers that tone hole. We can kind of pout out to cover that tone hole. Okay, so that's really important. Flute, is it too rolled in or rolled out? And then the other really important area or positioning issue we want to deal with is position of the flute on the lip in terms of, is it too high? And very often flutes are too high on the lip, sometimes too low. Although I must be honest, in my 15 years of teaching, I don't think I've ever seen a flute that's too low on the lip. Maybe, but probably not. If you have really large lips, absolutely you might be too low. You might need to move that flute up a bit. But for the most part, we actually put it too high. And we do this because it makes the low register so much easier. So here's typically what happens. Students will put the flute high up and then they roll in because they put it high up or start it high up because they think, oh, now the low register is so nice and easy. Then they roll in because the second register is really difficult. And then you get flute sound that sounds, oh, bear with me. Like that. And if that sounds familiar to you, I want you to lower the flute. And a really nice thing, you just scooch it on the lip, lower on the lip, make it too low, put it down too low, and then kind of cuddle it up or scooch it up until the point where, oh, suddenly the sound starts to pop out at you. Once again, you can see how, unless we fix some of those other areas, you can't even tell whether the sound gets better by making these manipulations because maybe there was a breathing problem or maybe there was a locked jaw problem. So just make sure that you have really solved those other problems first. And just to prove this point even more, for you students right at the beginning who were pulling your flutes back like this, you didn't have that lovely 30 to 45 degree angle. Just so commonly see this. Very often what will happen is they'll be playing, the flute's pulled back, and as soon as we bring that flute forward, the position on the lip automatically changes. So if you dive straight into 0.5 and you try and kind of maneuver the position, you find a good position, but you're playing like this, and then suddenly you realize, oh, oops, I need to bring the flute forward. Guess what? You're going to have to change that position again. You know it. Do it in order, please. It's just going to save you time and frustration. Point number 6, once you've got all of those lovely basics sorted out, is to spend time really looking at the movement of the lips. So by movement of lips, we want to really make sure that the lips are moving not by tightening and squeezing, but rather by moving forwards and backwards, especially with that lower jaw, to change the angle of the air. And this is especially true for octave exercises. Now, we've got a resource for you guys. Yes, we do. It's actually just a summary of these 6 points plus a nice little exercise that we recommend, nice long tone exercise that we recommend that you do. I'm going to show you how to work with that in just a moment. But there's also a whole bunch of additional videos there from our channel that help to explain these points more clearly. So it's a really nice kind of 1-page summary. You can print it out, hang it up on your wall for that matter, so that whenever you're having tone troubles, you can just kind of go through those points and troubleshoot. Okay, so on there, we've got this lovely kind of just simple octave exercise. And I'm going to use this to show you the movement of the lips, and then I'm going to go back and show you how we can use it throughout all 6 of these points. Okay, so we start in the low register E, getting the best sound that you can, just trying to find a really good solid sound there. Maybe F is easier for some of you, start on the F, that's fine. And now we're going to just focus on swinging those lips forward, especially that lower lip. Let that lower lip slide forward, U, to kind of an U shape, rather than tightening as we go up the octave. So it'll look like this. It'll absolutely not look like this. Please, I mean, it just sounds so terrible. So here again, I'm going to do it on F. interestingly, I noticed I was standing with my feet together and all tight and tense, and I was like, whoa, I'm not even doing what I've told you guys to do. So I had to do a little check, and I moved my feet and I took a better breath, and guess what? It was so much easier. So let's dial it back. Nice little bit of a refresher here. How you can use this simple little exercise to help you with these 6 points. So first point, we play our octaves and we're just going to focus on the body. We're just focusing on one thing at a time. So we focus on that body, we find the feet, we find a sense of balance, and we just think about that lovely ease. Maybe for you, it's just about bringing that flute forward. So maybe it's really just about finding that lovely angle and playing with that angle a little bit. Okay, so we find that angle and we just play our octaves. Okay, and we say, how was that? Now you might want to even play the octaves before you focus on anything and just kind of get a temperature check. How does it sound? And then actually go and start this process and say, okay, I focused on my body. Did it help the sound? Did the sound get better? If the answer was yes, well, yay. That means that that's an important area for you to focus on. Then we go on to point number 2, the breath, the breathing. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to breathe, really letting that belly flop out. We breathe down into the hips. We're just finding a not up here kind of a breath. You're going to think of the lovely yawning breath, and we're going to try the same exercise again. So breathe. Now don't forget about your body, please. Remember, they're connected. So find that position. Breathe. I feel like my tone was better. It just made it so much easier though. I felt like those octaves just came effortlessly. So if that was you, if it made a difference, if it made it easier, if it helped, that's probably one of the areas that you also need to focus on. Or maybe that is the area you need to focus on. Good. Then we go on to tip number 3. So we're finding the release in the cheeks, in the jaw, and in the throat. So we're just going to find those soft cheeks here and here, but still we're focusing on the body, focusing on the breath, and then focusing here. Okay, so find that lovely balance. Breathe well. Soft cheeks. I was catching myself trying to really think about position. No, not allowed. Follow the process. Okay, then we do point number 4. So in point number 4, we said we're going to focus on excessive tension in the embouchure. In my case, I actually know there's no tension there because it was so relaxed. It was almost too relaxed now. So I'm going to skip that point personally. But of course, you can play your octaves again and just think about releasing here. Go and watch. We've got a lovely video just on embouchure tension and how to identify it and all of that. So go watch that. Figure out if this is you, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. We move on to number 5. I'm going to think about position. And that was one of the points that I listened to myself now and I thought, ooh, could do something. So I know my embouchure is slightly off to the left, which is a pain. So I'm just going to move it slightly there now, but I'm going to go back. Body, feeling body, breath. Feeling breath and soft cheeks, soft embouchure. Finding that position. And especially up higher. Ooh, my embouchure is all shivery and shaky today, which is totally fine. So again, just working through that checklist, and then the last point I've already demonstrated, we would then show the movement. Okay, are you ready to go out on your own and have some fun? Do these steps one at a time. I think part of why my embouchure was shivering at the end now was because I was actually feeling a little bit kind of overstimulated and overwhelmed. And then go and watch this little video right here on airspeed and air direction, as well as this playlist over here to help you with all these 6 steps. Happy practicing, and I'll see you guys next time.